Alright, so today's video is going to be a little bit different. I'm going to be farming keys so that I can get ready to make a video with my barbarian, with my video that recently did pretty well with my style points barbarian using death and oath and ethereal colossus blades. Gonna make a video doing Ubers, so I gotta go and get some keys. And I wanted to talk about something today. I wanted to talk about some potential rune words that we could have in the future. Now this is nothing official or anything, this is just ideas off the top of my head. And what I think would be really cool is to have a rune word that gives the find item ability. So essentially any character, just like any character can be a sorceress with the teleport, make it so every character can hork. Every character can do find item on an enemy after they've taken them out. I think that could be really cool. I think another thing that could be really cool is I need my hold on 1 second before I was rudely interrupted. Of course they're immune to cold. Of course he is. Wait, what? Okay. I'll take it. I'll take that. Wow. Okay. So a find item one. I think another one that would be really cool is something that would maybe give some necromancer skills, or maybe like a flat damage increase to your weapon, basically something to combat with grief. So since grief is so powerful, since some people don't like grief, for all you grief haters out there, I wouldn't call myself a grief hater, I just like to find alternatives that work. And I think I found some pretty good alternatives to grief recently. But I think it would be cool, almost like an enchant type of thing. A rune word that maybe even granted a new ability. And it could just put a flat damage on any weapon. So it would open up possibilities to make things that are more powerful than grief. And then you could really get some crazy physical builds that could really clear things at a different level, basically. Like you could have some type of physical builds that just run through, slicing through everything like butter. I don't know how overpowered or broken it could wind up being, but I think it could be really cool. Another cool potential rune word that could be broken but could also be game changing and build defining would be something that could get you past certain breakpoints. Maybe you could reach FCR breakpoints, or reach, you know, attack speed breakpoints, or reach, you know, faster hit recovery, whatever type of breakpoints it may be. A rune word that pushes you up to the very next available breakpoint, so that you could basically save certain item slots and use those for other decisions. I think that could be really cool. I think there's a lot of possibilities in the future for adding new rune words and adding new things, and I just think that it would really do well for the community, do well for the game. It would be a win-win all around. I'm sure there's some people who would be against it, but I feel like you could always make it in a way where the people who don't want to use those rune words could play basically the mode that doesn't have those enabled, and then the people who want to use those rune words can benefit from the new content, because I know there's a lot of people that are hungry for new content. Another really cool rune word idea I think could be some way to basically enchant yourself or your teammates with extra magic find. I think, you know, there would be plenty of people who would argue against this, but I think this could also be another thing that would be really fun. Just being able to add a ton of magic find onto yourself or your mercenary or your teammates in general. I think it would just add a new dynamic to the game. There would be people who would be hitting holy grails who maybe never did it before. And I'm sure there's some purists who would be against it, but my whole thing is, I mean, that doesn't take anything away from the people who did it prior to those things. It's just like there's new gameplay possibilities, and I'm always for new gameplay possibilities. Like many different games, there's always people that want to take things out of the game, and I'm always a big proponent of putting more things into the game. Don't take things out of the game, put things into the game. More content is usually better as long as it's not completely game breaking to the point of like you have login errors because they added something and it broke the code or something. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm just simply talking about allowing new possibilities for gameplay, new play styles maybe, new character builds, things of that type of sort. And I feel like if you're really against it, you wouldn't have to play on the new ladder or the new version, blah blah blah. You wouldn't have to play on that particular version. An argument could definitely be made that there's a need for a rune word that grants much higher attack speed, or maybe ignore target defense against bosses as a melee character, because currently in Diablo 3 you can only have 90% of your attacks hit the enemy if you're a melee character. If I'm not mistaken, casters can have every single spell hit the enemy, but melees just kind of get the short end of the stick. I feel like melee characters should be able to hit 100% of the time, even if it's an expensive rune word or whatever. I feel like melee characters should be allowed to hit 100% of the time, not 95%. And I think there should be, you know, some type of gate there or whatever, you know. It should be gate kept in some type of manner, but it shouldn't be impossible. That's all I'm saying. It shouldn't be impossible.